Hello, 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 and welcome. Welcome to 3 tips to improve your dynamics on the oboe. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, well, I just need a great reed. I just need the perfect reed in order to improve my dynamics. And I've got great news. There's actually, there are lots of things you can do to the fundamentals of your playing to improve your dynamics that do not involve the reed, which is excellent news because, as we know, oboe reeds are always changing and they're always different. So if there's another thing that we can do for our oboe playing to improve our dynamics, it's exciting. That gives us some control, and that's what I'm going to offer you today. My name is Erin Brophy. I am the principal oboe player of the Saskatoon Symphony and a sessional lecturer at the University of Saskatchewan. Thank you for joining me today on 3 tips to improve your dynamics on the oboe. Now, why am I doing these live presentations? Well, it has a lot to do with how I got started on the instrument. I'm from, and I had some musical training before I started the oboe, very common piano and choir stuff. And I grew up in this very beautiful part of Canada, quite a remote part of Canada, up north in northern Ontario. Beautiful place. It is surrounded by lakes and trees, and it was a wonderful place to play the piano and to sing in a choir until I decided that I was going to learn the oboe. And that's where all the trouble started. Because it was a community that did have access to great musicians, but no one who played the oboe. And the nearest professional oboe player was 462 kilometers away. And for that reason, because I did not have access to someone to help me on this instrument, I really struggled. Oh my gosh. I struggled because I did not have access to a functioning instrument. I did not have access to functioning reeds. And I did not have access to good information. And for that reason, there were many times when I was trying to improve on the instrument that I almost gave up. I could tell by listening to the radio that what an oboe was supposed to sound like. And I knew that I didn't sound like an oboe, but I had no idea how to make this glorious instrument sing. And it was very frustrating. And now if you fast forward 25 years, I'm so blessed and grateful that I make my living playing the oboe. It's truly something I love. But now that I have the opportunity to work with students, I recognize that my journey did not have to be that difficult. And it did not have to be that lonely. That is why I'm doing these presentations, is because I don't want you to have to struggle the way that I did. So thank you for joining me today. That's also why the beginning part of my journey on the instrument is also why I've created a program called the Oboe Path. The Oboe Path uses a group online masterclass, personalized feedback, and a customized personal plan to allow an oboist to improve and play with the oboe with joy and ease. Through the group online program, an oboist joins a community of like-minded oboe players that are all looking to improve, and that helps with accountability and inspiration to practice. Through the personalized, customized plan, an oboe player goes into each practice session with a clear idea what they're going to be practicing and how, so that they see the results of their practice immediately. With the personalized, customized feedback, the oboe player understands the next step that they need to take in order to improve what they're playing. It's such a fun program. I love it. All right, let's get to 3 trips. Wow. I said it twice already. Okay, 3 tips to improve dynamics on your oboe. So the first and fundamental, this presentation today could be entitled all the things you need to know to play the oboe well. And something that I've observed amongst oboe teachers and professional oboists is that we have a tendency to say, oh, it's easy. Playing the oboe is easy. There's just some simple things you need to do and then it's easy. And I've been on both sides of that experience where I say it's easy. I'm sorry. And I've been on the other side when I thought, well, if it was so easy, why can't I do it? So I understand the frustration of what I'm about to tell you, because the first thing I want you to think about It is quite easy. The first tip I have is your breath. That is the basis of, I mean, it may seem too simple almost, that how you approach your breath to your instrument has a fundamental impact on your experience of the instrument. And working and improving your breath and your breath control, the quality of your breath is really going to impact your ability to do dynamics. Now, when you're thinking of your breath, there's lots of different elements to think about. There's the quantity of air, there is the speed of air, and then there's the support of air, which is kind of connected to the speed. So what I would suggest is, if you are looking to improve your dynamics, is to think about how you can be efficient with how much air you're taking in. Now, because we play the oboe, we know it doesn't take a great quantity of air to make the oboe sound beautiful. What we need in order to make the oboe sound beautiful is a speed of air. And where that speed of air comes from is your support, is where you're blowing underneath the instrument, where you're what I call pushing from to get. Do you see how I'm making that motion? That I feel like when I am supporting well on the oboe, that is what's happening, is I am pushing the air out of my body. And if you can think of having more support, blowing and pushing and holding from underneath your lungs and your diaphragm, just some oboe players describe it as being at your belt, like around your belt or underneath your belt. Now, I don't wear a belt, so I never found that helpful because when I play the oboe, I'm really pushing, and so a belt is super uncomfortable for me. But I have worn tight pantyhose. That's been an unpleasant but useful experience to feeling where I have to push from in order to get the oboe to play well. So that is something that that you want to think about, is your support. And support is not just like bearing down, but I find it helpful with students to talk about speed of your air. That when you have a rush of air, it's because your diaphragm is pushing things quickly. So in order to improve your dynamics, having access to a speed of air, which comes from your support, will really help you. So please take that into your practice room, that idea of speed, and work with it. That takes us to the next very simple idea for improving your dynamics, which is your embouchure. So setting up your embouchure in such a way that you are making conscious choices with your embouchure. Sometimes what happens is, over time, I know this in my own playing, and I've seen it with students as well, is we may spend a lot of time setting up our embouchure at the very beginning of our journey on the instrument. And it's very easy to think, oh, well, that's done. Glad I took care of that. And what I have noticed about my own playing is that my embouchure has a tendency to move and to change if I'm not conscious and aware of the choices that I'm making. So a certain amount of my practicing in each week is just going in front of the mirror and making sure that what I'm intending on happening with my embouchure is actually what is happening. So let me tell you some elements I'd like you to look for in your embouchure. First thing is your chin flat. And this will really help your dynamics. If you have any puffing like this or bunching, what that's going to do is inhibit the reed from being able to be flexible. Inhibit your embouchure from being able to be flexible on the reed. If you can get your chin to roll down and any air that may be trapped here to disappear. So you're just using your muscles underneath here and thinking of your embouchure going in from the side. So almost like creating another sphincter right here. This making sure that you're going very around the reed. We're not wanting to smile like this, but keeping that open. That's going to allow you the flexibility necessary in order to do dynamics. Because having those two elements working for you rather than against you is really going to help. Because when I am doing different dynamics, when I'm doing piano versus forte, I'm actually changing my embouchure slightly. I'm rolling, and the reason I'm doing that is so that my dynamics can stay in tune, which is a whole other training. Maybe I'll do that soon. So I'm wanting my embouchure to be flexible. Also, that every reed is going to be different, as you well know. So having a flat chin and the corners of your mouth in allow you to sort of roll in and out with your lips as necessary. Flat reed, sharp reed, flat reed. Because as you're crescendoing or decrescendoing, the intonation is changing. So that embouchure will give you the flexibility in order to play your dynamics in a way that pleases you, that you can hear a wide range between the piano and the forte. So this brings us to my third tip for improving dynamics on your oboe. So the third tip, and again, simple, but takes some work and some discipline, which is that every single time you come to your oboe for the day, that you practice dynamics. And this can be difficult on some reeds. Some reeds don't want to play soft very well. Some reeds don't want to play loud very well. And what I would encourage you to do is to have a long tone practice in your practicing. And what I mean by that is long tones. I said to a student, well, are you doing your long tones? And they said, oh, well, yes, I'm playing my notes like for 45 seconds at a time. And I said, first of all, I've been totally unclear. I just learned how I need to be clear. But long tones are not playing tones for a long time. Long tones are a way to practice your dynamics. So it doesn't actually matter how long they are. I've never timed my long tones. What I am practicing when I'm practicing long tones is being able to play piano and crescendo nicely to a forte and then back to a piano. That is what I'm looking to do in my long tones. I'm looking to have a very nice attack in that piano. And then when I get to that forte, having a beautiful vibrato and then coming back to a very nice diminuendo. I'm making sure that those two things are equal. And this is actually something that we talk about a lot in the oboe path. And I have some very specific exercises depending on where you are in your journey on the oboe as to how this would help you to improve. But for the purposes of today's training, I would just say that make friends with piano and forte every day, because what I find is that if I have not played piano and forte on a reed I don't like, that when I end up having a great reed that I love, playing my dynamic range is much smaller on the reed that I really love because I haven't been practicing it otherwise. So playing dynamics on the oboe is a muscle that you need to stretch and build every time you come to your instrument. And it's going to give you so many more, as an artist, it's going to give you so many more ways to create beautiful music with your ensembles. And, and I think for me, I love dynamics. I find them exciting when I'm as a listener. I find them really exciting as a musician. They're one of the tools I have in my toolkit to evoke emotion in both, and I think that playing with dynamics, trying to have the softest soft you can and the loudest loud you can is something that something I really enjoy on the instrument. So I would encourage you to, even on reeds that you do not like or are not up to snuff or not creating a sound you want, how can you, keeping all of these elements in mind, speed of air, embouchure, how can you create dynamics on that reed so that you have this skill that when you come to this great reed, that you're able to have such a wide range of dynamics and colors available to you. I find that the more time I spend with long tones in my life, the more time I spend practicing them, the better I sound. It's this cycle, and perhaps a chicken and egg scenario. Do I sound bad because I'm not doing long tones? Or do my long tones sound bad? Or said in a more positive way is, do I sound great because I'm doing long tones? Or do my long tones sound great? There's sort of a connection between the two. So it's something that I would encourage you to incorporate into your own practicing. I hope that you have enjoyed today's presentation called 3 Tips to Improve Your Dynamics on the Oboe. Let's all become the oboists that everyone wants to play with. The oboists we were meant to be. Play the oboe with joy and ease.